Friends, we are going to begin the funeral service for Mr. Markus Kunin. If you have a cell phone, I'd ask you kindly to place it into silent mode at this time or turn it completely off. I'd also like to welcome anybody via live stream. On behalf of the family, thank you for attending. Services will be conducted by Cantor Pavel Reutman. He's going to start with the ancient tradition of cutting of the kriya, the ribbon. So if we could have Oleg and Vladimir please rise.
Adonai, Madam Vatedayehu, Bein Enosh, Vatekashvehu, Adam Lachevel, Dama, Yamav Kitzel Over, Babokir Yatzitz Vechalav, לא ירף ימולל ויובש, תושף אנוש עד דקה, ותאמר שובו, שובו בני אדם. Friends, we have gathered here today to bid farewell to Markus Kunin, a good person who is going to be missed by many. Our thoughts and sympathies go to Markus's family, to Oleg, Yana, Ilya, Emmanuel, Hannah, Vladimir, Svetlana, Polina, Lena, Paulina, and of course to Olga. We share in their sense of loss, and we pray that they find comfort in the days and the weeks to come. As it has been the custom of our ancestors, we begin with passages and psalms from the holy texts. These readings have been a source of comfort to those who came before us, and I hope that today too they will bring relief to all of you, all those who mourn. Adonai Ma'adam, Lord, who are we that you have regard for us? What are we that you are mindful of us? We are like breath, our days are a passing shadow. We come and go like grass which in the morning shoots up, renewed, and in the evening fades and withers. You cause us to revert to dust, saying, Return, O mortal creatures, would that we were wise, that we understood where we are going. For when we die, we carry nothing away. Our glory does not accompany us. Mark the wholehearted and behold the upright. They shall have peace. Lord, you redeem the souls of your servants, and none who trust in you shall be desolate. If you'd like to, you can join me in the words of the 23rd Psalm in English, which can be found in the inside cover of the service booklet. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He leadeth me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest the table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou anointest my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Adonai roi lo echsar, bino de sheyarbitzeni, anemei menuchot, yinachaleni. Nafshi shovev yishovev, yancheni v'magli tzedek, yancheni v'magli tzedek, leman shemo, gam ki elech begeit salmavet, lo yirara ki ata imadi, shiftecha umishantea ema yinachamuni. Taroch lefanai shulchan neged sorerai, dishanta vashemen roshi kosi revaya, ach tov vachesed yirnefuni, kol yemei chayai, v'shavti beveit Adonai leorech yamim. Adonai roi lo echsar, Adonai roi lo echsar. Marcus was a kind, talented, creative, and life-loving man whose love for his family and his dedication to his craft were at the center of his life. His was not an easy journey. Born shortly before the war, Marcus was of the generation that experienced war firsthand. He knew the meaning of hunger and loss, and he understood the fragility of the world in which he lived. The challenges of Marcus's childhood could have made him bitter and restrained, but instead, his experiences molded him into a mensch, a man of good qualities who was truly loved by all those around him. And it is these qualities of his that we are now going to recall and remember, as well as the many blessings that he was known by in his love. We're going to remember Marcus, and we're going to retell his story as a tribute to his undying memory. May his memory be an everlasting blessing. Marcus was born in 1937 in Kharkiv to Yosef and Celia, two honest and hardworking people who raised him with much care and love. A few years later, Marcus's brother Vladimir was born. In 1941, the war began, and as the Nazis approached Kharkiv, Marcus and his mother evacuated east to Central Asia and away from the enemy lines. These were particularly challenging times for him and his loved ones. There was not enough food, and he always felt hungry. This feeling of constant hunger remained with Marcus for many years after the war, as a reminder of the terrible times that he had to live through as a child. After the war ended, the family ended up in Kiev, where Marcus's mother, Celia, was offered a job at the hospital. The hospital also provided a small apartment in a communal house for Celia and her family. Thus began the Kiev chapter of Marcus's life. There in Kiev, Marcus finished school and became an apprentice to the local hand engraver, hoping to learn the trade. And learn he did. Very soon he became one of the best engravers in Kiev. The word of his craftsmanship spread near and far, and many, came to admire and look at his work. As the family members shared with me, there were a couple of secrets to Markus's success. First, he had the luck of learning from one of the best master engravers who was trained by none other but the famous house of Fabergé. Secondly, Markus had a true gift for his craft, and that, combined with his abilities of being a diligent, creative, and patient human being, truly set him apart. He was a good and gentle man, and his loved ones pointed out to me that he did not have a bad bone in his body. People loved Markus, and he loved them in return. It is perhaps his nature and his ability to create and to excite others that made him a good match for Ella, his wife of many years and his true partner in life. Theirs was a happy marriage where love and respect were at the core of their relationship. Markus and Ella were cooperative and like-minded, especially when it came to raising their kids, Oleg and Boris. May he rest in peace. As Oleg told me in our conversation, to him, Markus was a source of positive energy and vibe, and he encouraged the same positivity in his sons. Among many things that Markus taught his children, he taught them how to distinguish right from wrong. In this way, he was able to do so not by pushing, but by encouraging his kids to do better. He raised his children with flexibility while preparing them for all the necessities of life, and I'm sure he was really proud of his sons and in everything that they have become. Dear Oleg, please accept my deepest condolences. I was with you a few years ago when we bid farewell to your brother, Boris. And I'm saddened that we're here again, now saying goodbye to your dad. My heart goes to you, and I pray that in this difficult time of grief, you find comfort in the beautiful memories of your father. My heart also goes to Vladimir, Markus's brother, as he too mourns him deeply today. Dear Vladimir, I know that your brother had a very special place in your heart, and you shared many wonderful moments together. I also know that you always looked up to Markus and in a number of ways considered him a father figure. I'm sure that in his own way, Markus also admired you and was proud of you as he loved you very much. May his memory be an everlasting blessing. Many of you in this room mourn this wonderful man. These include the members of Markus's immediate family, Yana, Ilya, Emmanuel, Hannah, Svetlana, Lena, Polina, Olga. Polina, who was like a sister to Markus, is especially saddened today, and so is her daughter Marina, who treated Markus as a father figure in her life and who gave him much-needed care and support during his last days. A special word needs to be said about Markus's grandchildren, who will later on in the service share their words and their memories with us. From our conversation a couple of days ago, I learned how much Markus's grandchildren loved him and to what extent his care, love, and support made an impact on their life. I especially wanted to mention Ilya, since he truly represents his grandfather's professional legacy by inheriting his business and becoming a third-generation engraver himself. The story one of Markus's success and his legacy here in the United States is truly worthy of mentioning because it is an example of how much one can achieve through perseverance and hard work. And as the story goes, Markus came to the U.S. at a significantly older age. Life was tough for him as a new immigrant, but he had a dream. To get to his dream, he started working various jobs, but this did not bring him joy, and in a number of ways discouraged him from going further. Yet after 4 or 5 years, he finally did achieve his goal of owning the engraving business, and starting from scratch, he worked really hard and achieved a great success. As the family members shared with me, the business was a true family endeavor. First, it was family-owned and operated, and Markus and Ella worked hard together to make it work. Second, Markus's family members, Boris and Ilya, worked in the business, giving it a particular style and character. Finally, as I have mentioned before, Ilya inherited the business, and I know that he's very proud of being a Kunin and doing this line of work. What a wonderful story, and what a great example for others to follow. What a wonderful life to live and to be remembered by. In so many ways, Markus was a remarkable man, and his legacy is one example of that. Another example of Markus's role was that of a patriarch of his beloved family. As I am told, there were no bigger joy for this man to sit quietly in his workshop space, creating his beautiful art while being surrounded by his family, those that he really loved and cared for. These were the high points in Markus's life, things that made him happy and content. Unfortunately, as I have shared before, even this wonderful man could not escape life's many challenges. Sadly, these included the passing of his beloved Ella, whom he mourned deeply, and a few years ago, Boris, may he rest in peace. In these difficult moments of his life, it was his family that came to the rescue. Markus's brother, children, grandchildren, and extended family and friends all offered their care and support to this wonderful man. And I am sure that this brought comfort to his broken heart. Another source of comfort to Markus was his dear Olga, a loving and generous soul who supported Markus and gave him her gentle care and love. She too mourns deeply today, sharing in our collective grief. Markus's last days were quick, and as he slipped away, he was escorted to the world to come by all the love and care that he had given to those he cared about and loved. I think he knew that his loved ones were there for him, and this surely lessened his discomfort and pain. Jewish tradition teaches us that each human being is made b'tselem Elohim, in the image of God. And as such, each human being is made just like the Creator, to share kindness and love, and to make our world a better and more beautiful place. Our beloved Markus, too, was a creator and a beautiful human being. His legacy, his work, and his love will live in our memory forever. We bid farewell to this wonderful human being. In our hearts and in our memories, he will always live on. Amen. It is now my honor to invite Markus's grandchildren to share a few words.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Markus Kunin, and I am the youngest granddaughter of Dietrich Mark. First, I would like to express deep gratitude for everyone here. Those who have traveled great distances, I appreciate you so much. My Dietrich was an incredible person. I do not know where to begin when I think of all the amazing attributes that made him who he was. To start off, like many of you, my grandfather was an immigrant, and he came here to build a better life for his family. With that, he created a life for me that has been more than anything I could ever ask for, and I am eternally grateful for that. Dietrich Mark was a unique individual. He was the kind of person that was always happy. He did not need much in life, just to be surrounded by people who loved him. To know that that is how he lived the last moments of his life is something that I will hold near and dear to my heart. He could sit at a family dinner for hours and not say a word, but that was enough for him. It was enough for me too, because although a man of few words, his energy was felt between every single person in the room. His energy was warm, safe, and comfortable. My grandpa raised two amazing sons. He gave me the best father I could ever ask for. My father has the sweetest soul, works harder than anyone I have ever met, and does everything without ever complaining. He does everything with such grace. Dietrich Mark was a man of many talents. I remember growing up and thinking, and I still think this, that my grandfather was the coolest person in the world. He was a soldier, an artist, a jeweler, a seamstress, the list goes on and on. I would walk into elementary school bragging how he made me diamonds and lived in a huge apartment in the city of Chicago where I would go visit most weekends with my sister. We felt like celebrities getting to go to the big city at such a young age. Sleepovers in my grandparents' apartment were where some of my favorite childhood memories were created. I remember every time we would go to the pool in their apartment, I felt like a kid in a candy store. It felt so big and large. It is so wholesome to look back and see how the simplest activities made the 5-year-old version of me the happiest girl in the world. I now realize that it is not the activity itself, but the people I was surrounded with. My grandfather, my sister, my dad, my grandmother. These memories were unforgettable. We would always end the night with mini chocolate Dove ice creams, and I went to sleep excited for my grandfather to take me to Tempo Cafe. Dietrich Mark was truly the strongest person I know. He was able to overcome so much, and I'm happy he is finally at peace. He was always there for me and Emma, and he did not need anything in life but to know that his grandchildren were happy. I hope to carry on his selflessness, as this feeling radiated off of him and made me feel so special. I know he is watching over my family, and I look forward to keeping his memory alive. I love you so much, and thank you for everything you have done for me.
Sorry, this is also going to be in English. My grandfather was truly an inspiration, despite what he went through, in his upbringing and his life in immigration. His resiliency was truly demonstrated in his character. He adored his grandchildren and taught me what unconditional love looks like. He would always greet you with the biggest smile on his face, and he would say, "Imka." He was always excited every morning to wake up and go to work. And I know that because, as a rite of passage, his grandkids would arrive to borrow his apartment for the weekend before he could even head out the door Friday morning for work. You could feel that he loved what he did. We have the happiest memories with him, and I'm reminded of that every time I am near his apartment. Every time I go to visit, I feel his presence. I was always excited to go to Tempo Cafe across the street. Everyone loved to be around my grandfather, and fortunately, his happiest memories will live on forever in our hearts.
Hi guys, I'm Ilya, the oldest grandchild. So one of the kind of recurring themes that he'd always say is God bless America. He's like, I brought all of you here, so you're welcome. But that's the truth. I mean, they were him and my grandmother and Oleg were the first generation, and then my parents came, and then everybody else came. So he really impacted all of us in that sense, and then created a foundation for the rest of us, not only me and my dad, a foundation to get rolling with the business. It's a foundation for us to kind of like start it's like, yeah, come use my apartment. Yeah, no problem. Like when we're young, and really giving to everyone, other people in the business, anyone that had a chance to work with him, he was always willing to give, always willing to teach, always willing to give as much as he can. And even though he was the first generation, it's the hardest position to be in, but actually the happiest, most positive person out of everyone. So even though you've been, and the hunger from back in the old country, from being here and living here, that's the thing that I'm gonna remember the most. It's like you always remember to be happy. And anyone that has worked with him, listening to jazz music on volume 5,000 in the office, where the rest of us can't hear our phone calls because he's jamming in the office, just doing his thing, just enjoying life every single day, So he called me, it's like, can I come to work? Yeah, I have a job for you. Yes, thank you. So just happy to come to work, and yeah, he was working even this year. So just still really happy to the fullest, and it's not just something, I really mean it, and anyone that knew him knows that's the truth. So it's, something that's a positive memory to live off of.
As I was preparing for today and thinking about this idea that I expressed in the beginning of my eulogy about human being created in the image of God, being a creator of their own destiny, creator of things, creator of life, I realized that there is a paradox, because in our Jewish tradition, we try to avoid creating images. And so it's very interesting that how come in the culture where we try to avoid creating images, we all of a sudden get these amazing people who are the best at doing that, at creating images, at doing paintings, engravings, creating music. And I think that the reason it happens is because these people like Markus, are looking for something special, looking for God. And I think when he was here on earth, he found God in the eyes of his grandchildren, in the eyes of his children. Those of you who were close to him, this was his God. And I think now he is on his way to a real God, whose image we do not have, but whose qualities we know as being patient, kind, and giving peace. A Jewish funeral ends with a prayer called El Malei Rachamim, which creates another image of a soul coming up to heaven. And it's there in heaven where soul is embraced by God's wings. If you close your eyes and think about what God's wings look like, you probably can imagine something beautiful. And when I think of Marcus's soul, and when I think about that moment when his soul achieves high heaven and gets embraced by God's wings, I'm really, truly content that he will find peace and comfort there and will know no more pain. And so with these words, I'd like to invite you to stand as I recite the words of the prayer. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Amtseh Minucha Nekona Takat Kanfei Hashchina, B'malot Kedoshim Utchorim, Kezohar Rakia Maschirim, Et Nishmat Yosef ben Markus ben Yosef Vetzila, שחלק לעולמו, בגן עדן כמנוחתו, הנבע לרחמים, הסתירך בסדר כנפיך לעולמים, וצרור בצרור קיימת נשמתו, אדוני הוא נחלתו, וינוח בשלום על משכבו, ונאמר אמן. Please be seated.
This does conclude the service at the chapel. Immediately following the interment, the family would like to invite everyone to Zhivago Restaurant, 9925 Grosse Point Road in Skokie, right across the street from the cemetery. The burial will be taking place at Memorial Park Cemetery. If you're going in procession, keep your bright headlights on at all times, put your emergency blinkers on, attach the orange funeral sticker to the passenger portion of your front windshield, and we'll also attach a flag to the roof of your car, and please stay as close as safety permits to the car in front of you. We'll be forming the procession beginning in the parking lot. After the service, after Mr. Kunin is escorted from the chapel, friends would like to step forward and take a look at the pictures. That would be a good time to do that. At this time, I would like everyone to please rise as Mr. Kunin is escorted from the chapel. If we could have some of the gentlemen come forward to serve as pallbearers, that would be much appreciated.